I'm your host, Wes, and with me, as always, is my boy Skip and Tosh. How you doing today, man?
Just ready for a shrimp and a bobby. Just ready for a shrimp and a bobby.
The hat game is going well today, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then we've got the voice behind the questions, Comic Wiz. What's going on?
I'm doing good for the most part, Wes. Thank you.
Well, glad to have you here. I hope everybody's ready for their Geek Culture 411. We got some movie news. We got some comic news. We got it all for you. For all those sweaties out there, as Schnepp would call you, I hope you're ready for some goodness. And it's time to get with the questions. Comic Wiz, first question.
All right. Most recently, Terminator Dark Fate bombed in its opening weekend, taking in less than $30 million domestically. The sixth film in the Terminator franchise is currently on pace to lose a whopping $120 million total. Skip, is this the case of get woke, go broke, or did something else happen here, or is it both?
Comic Wiz. I'm gonna go with the last notion. It's a bit of both, man. I think it definitely reeks of get woke, go broke. But honestly, if you look at the track record of the last few Terminator movies, not including 3, because if I remember correctly, Terminator 3, the one with the lady Terminator in it, that one, if I remember correctly, actually did perform well at the box office. The quality of it was a little bit questionable, but it's not my favorite out of all of the ones after Terminator 2 Judgment Day. My favorite is actually the one with Christian Bale. I actually did like that one, although if they just took the Terminator name off of it, I think people would have received it a lot better. But it's definitely a little bit of get woke, go broke, and then a combination of the fact that it just kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to have a Terminator movie after Judgment Day. Honestly, even having the prequel Judgment Day was a little tricky because you're dealing with time travel, which is already can, kind of warp and bend and implode the mind. But definitely the third ones and all the others weren't strong enough. And then you take into account what the agenda was inside of the movie. I won't talk spoilers just in case anybody else is going to go see it. But some of the things that happened in the early immediate minutes, let's just say it's reminiscent of what DC is trying to do with their whole 5G initiative, replacing the key figures, really for not a good enough reason. So I think it was a combination of both. But honestly, they just need to stop. Straight up, Arnold Schwarzenegger's not 45 anymore. It's the whole story of him growing older and all that stuff and trying to assimilate. I don't know. It just took a lot of the thunder out of the story. And honestly, this isn't something that anybody wanted. This also reeks of nostalgia for the sake of nostalgia. Let's bring back something from the 80s and 90s that everybody liked without really having a good story to tell. And I'm a little disappointed. Actually, I'm almost vastly disappointed in James Cameron for attaching himself to this. I'm a little disappointed also in what's his name, Miller, the director, for Tim Miller, for being a part of this as well. But I understand that James Cameron, he has big ideas. He's one of the greatest filmmakers that we've ever had. Storytellers, innovative with cinema technology and whatnot, a la Avatar and all those different things. So I think he is a cash grab. He just needed money because when you got big ideas and you're not making money and you're talking about doing 72 more Avatar movies, you kind of need a little bit of support. But I would have rather him just create a coffee like us and put out this movie. Wes, is it get woke, go broke? Is it just a terrible story? How are you feeling about it?
It's mostly a watered down franchise. They ruined it. What happened? Terminator is a great sci-fi horror film. James Cameron upped the ante with T2 and put a great twist on it with the new Terminator that was the liquid metal Terminator that was really mind-blowing. But the essence of that movie is still a sci-fi horror movie. But after that, none of them are sci-fi horror. They're just science fiction with twists. In the third movie, the big twist is John Connor isn't the hero, it's his wife. In the fourth movie, the big twist was supposed to be John Connor is a Terminator, but there was a leak of McGee's script. I believe he was the one that did it. And people got pissed. They had to scrap the ending, redo it, and it basically fell apart. that thing did. And then they decided to rename the fifth one Genesis, like it's some kind of Silicon Valley startup where they just name it weird. And they finally did do the John Connor as a Terminator twist, and everyone hated it. So you water down the franchise. You put in so many time travel paradoxes. You can't even keep up with the timeline anymore. It's so complex. It's so convoluted. It's so stupid and watered down that there's not really anything left to it. There's no meat on the bones anymore. They needed to break it down, go back to its horror roots, do something with a lot less money invested into it, to where it was about storytelling instead of visual spectacle. And of course, Tim Miller going out and saying, misogynists are going to hate my movie. Well, guess what? You just made a bunch of people roll their eyes and go, God, I didn't really know if I wanted to see this Terminator movie to begin with. Whatever, man. I'll go watch something else. You know, I got nostalgia. You know, there's enough nostalgia out there for everybody. And, you know, so did it go broke? That was part of it. But the biggest part was that they've watered down their own product. They keep rebooting it, and it becomes less and less every time for it. They need to just, if they want to do Terminator again, stop it, just reboot the franchise, go back to the horror model and see if you can build it off of there, because you can't build it off the bones of Terminator 2, because they've ruined it after that.
Straight up. Yeah, I'm such a misogynist. I went and watched Wonder Woman instead of this. Oh gosh, me and my misogyny, I really need to get it in check. I will say this, me and having the mind of a writer, like I don't want there to be any other Terminator movies ever again, or at least for the next 20 years. But if they do it, and they do it semi-recently, what I would like to see is actually for them to, wow, Curtis and these puns, flip the script, tell the story, same sci-fi horror story, the thing that pulled us in the first place, but tell it from Skynet's side of view. Skynet gaining sentience and seeing that the humans are trying to terminate it, and then it flips it on them. So if we want to do that, like, let's put a spin on it. Let's go back to the essence and then spin it just from perspective. Just spin the camera, spin it to Skynet's side. I don't know. I'm a Skynet fan. I'm a mutie, and I'm a robot. You guys must forgive me. I'm a calculating critical instead of thinking critical.
Comic Whiz, next question.
Sony just dropped the second Bad Boys for Life trailer, the third buddy cop team-up starring Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Wes, are you picking up what Sony Pictures are putting down in this trailer?
Absolutely. You know, Sony's going after the nostalgia. Everyone kind of talks about how the Fast and the Furious became this huge action thing where it started out as kind of a crime caper, undercover cop type thing, and it's blown into this huge thing. Bad Boys already did that a long time ago. The first Bad Boy was kind of a low-key buddy cop thing with a couple of action pieces, but it was all about their friendship in the story. Bad Boys 2 blew it up. It was just all spectacle, and they kind of took the heart and soul out of the story. Looks like they've done it again. So is this going to be a lot more popcorn fun, more mindless enjoyment with some really good catchphrases and cool cars? Absolutely. Am I willing to spend money for that? Of course. What about you, Skip?
Wes, you're going to have to spend a lot of money because you're going to have to rebuild your movie theater down there. But that's another geek-span. Me, it's funny. I'm always kind of hesitant, especially in these times when people want to do sequels and stuff like that. But I saw the very first trailer, and I felt good about it. I saw this trailer, and I wish Hollywood would look at the wins. This is a quality trailer. You show the premise of the movie, you show and reintroduce or introduce the characters, and you show us some really cool shots. You know what I mean? Like this is how you do a trailer. Now, with that said, I do have to point out that it seems, and it's not unexpected. And I have some family that's pretty close to the Smith family, and their kids go to their school down in Los Angeles. But you can tell Will has really, lost a bit of touch with Philadelphia, because he was saying some of those lines, and I was like, ooh, they don't have the same sting and the same, visceral feeling as the good old OG Bad Boys with Michael Bay behind the camera. So now, even with that said, the writing still feels good. Martin Lawrence has gone through some things, but he's still very much his character. I think he delivered his lines closer to what his character originally was than Will Smith being Mike Lowry. Mike Lowry. But who's the dude that plays the chief? His last name is like something Ello or something like that. Anyway,
I know
whoever the captain is, the police chief dude, I will pretty much watch any movie that he's in because I love screaming police chiefs. I don't know what it is, like Last Action Hero. I love Beverly Hills Cop. I love any movie where there's a screaming and pissed off police chief. The replacements. Thank you. Like anytime a police chief is having ulcers because he's yelling at his detectives, count me in. I'm there. So overall, it still felt very much like the movie. I like the premise of him being Mike Lowry being the hunted. And last thing to say about that, I'm claiming to be the Mike Lowry of this Thinking Critical thing. So Wes, you got to be Martin Lawrence's character, and I forgot what is it, Marcus. You got to be Marcus.
Union, bro.
Hey, that's fair. She was pretty dope, dude. She was a good addition to the movies when they brought them back. But yeah, I'm Mike Lowry. So I guess the Comic Wiz, you get to be Marcus. There we go.
All right, Comic Wiz, what's the next question?
A writer Ben Percy promised a darker, grittier take on the X-Men and X-Force. He delivers just that, culminating in the murder of Charles Xavier in issue #1. Skip, is death meaningless in X-Men due to Jonathan Hickman's mutant resurrection machine?
I'm gonna say a hard no, that death is not meaningless in there, and I'll kind of piggyback off of a point I made before. One, because of how much death had occurred and how much depowering had occurred to the mutant population, not just the X-Men, it was important to create that storytelling device of being able to resurrect mutants so we could bring back all of these old characters or any ones that would be important enough for the story, because that was the whole thing. Like I said, that's why Hawks and Pox weren't X-Men books, they were mutant books, because first you have to restore mutants back to power before you can put a focus on the X-Men and how they operate within the community of mutantdom. So death is not pointless. What it's always about to me, in comics, death has not been treated well, I feel. And my favorite comic of all time is the death of Captain Marvel, not Death of Captain America. The Death of Captain Marvel, by written and drawn by Jim Starlin, Marvel's first graphic novel they ever put out. Only
Carol
2
Danvers,
issues.
at her finest.
You stop that, Wesley. Stop that right now. We all know that was Marvel. but I highly advise everybody to read it. It's only like 2 issues, so please take a look at it. But it's about stakes, right? Because what is, if you look at death, even in the continuity of our lives, if you look at death equals stakes in our story, history, the story of our lives, the story of it. Death represents stakes, and we know that the stake of it is you may not return. Likely you will not return. It's a very low chance. So always equate it back to stakes. What are the stakes of the story? Because shoot, whatever happened to someone just getting a broken arm and being like, oh, I can't go on the mission. You know what I mean? Wolverine's only got, well, he heals, but so-and-so got a broken leg. They can't run or whatever, and they can't teleport. So always equate it back to stakes. I do believe that you can be disrespectful to death, and I do believe you can overuse a trope, and it has happened in comics, unfortunately. And it's not something that's ever going to go away. But I always equate it back to stakes. So death to me is not meaningless within there. If anything, Jonathan Hickman has added value to death in the fact that he's used those people being gone and then created a machine to bring back life and life more abundantly. Wes, does death mean anything anymore?
Well, I mean, in the essence of that story, when it happened, I think that was supposed to leave me with an impact. And I was like, oh, okay, they're going to resurrect Charles. Jean's going to do it. So, in that essence, it was rendered less impactful. But if in the overall story what they're trying to convey or what they're going to say is, if you keep bringing these people back and making copies of them, at what point are they no longer the original person? When is the soul or the essence of the person gone? Now you're talking my speed here, because that's interesting. That's a cool take, and that takes time to get there. You can't just get there in 3 issues. That probably takes a year or 2 before you can convey those ideas or thoughts. And I think that's probably where this is going eventually. When he gets resurrected, this will be the 4th version of Charles. Because he keeps he keeps getting re-uploaded. And eventually, is this going to change him? Thing like that. So I think it raises the stakes and that kind of thing. Is Charles going to change? What are the effects that are going to be on him? But whereas the death itself is less meaningful. That makes any sense.
Absolutely.
All right, Comic Quiz. I guess it's on you next.
And casting rumors for Matt Reeves' The Batman gets weirder and weirder by the week. The latest is Colin Farrell in talks to portray Penguin and Andy Serkis potentially playing Alfred Pennyworth. Wes, which casting makes more sense? Farrell as Penguin or Serkis as Alfred?
All right, I got to be honest. Neither of these make any sense whatsoever. But if I squint hard and I grab my desk and you make me look and choose Andy Serkis as Alfred, maybe? Because I don't see Colin Farrell as the Penguin at all. You had Jonah Hill there, the perfect Penguin. And now you get... Listen, Batman can't be upstaged by the Penguin. Girls shouldn't go into a Batman movie going, damn, that Penguin looks a lot better than the Batman. Why is he so much cooler? It sends mixed signals. The Penguin should never look like he can score more chicks than Batman. He's supposed to be hideous or a nerd. He's not supposed to be debonair and dashing. So that makes no sense. I guess Andy Serkis, he's got some acting chops. He played him a mean Gollum. So maybe he can do a really good Alfred Pennyworth. I don't see it, but if I have to choose one, I will choose Andy Serkis. Tell me I'm wrong, Skip.
I'm with you, man. I'm sorry. This movie, with all of the castings that I've seen so far, I guess with the exception of Andy Serkis, who I hold highly as not only a fantastic mocap actor, but just actor as a whole, it just reeks of Twi-Man. That's what it is. It's Twilight Batman. I mean, it's a bunch of pretty faces, unfortunately, and not that any of these people don't have chops. There's plenty of roles where I did enjoy Colin Farrell in, even my goodness, it's hard to speak ill of her, but even Zoe Kravitz. I'm a huge Lenny Kravitz fan. I'm a huge Lisa Bonet fan. I like Jason Momoa too. He's cool. But Lenny and Lisa made an angel who walks on this earth. Zoe Kravitz, I love you. But no, get out of here. I do not want, it's just a bunch of pretty faces to grab in. Again, it's very apparent that they're going for the younger viewers, and I get it, and that's fine. You want to hook a new generation on. But I mean, is that how vain we think this generation is now? We don't think that they can handle, people that may not look as beautiful, but can really embody a role and touch us in our heart of hearts for these characters. I just don't get it. And I agree, the Jonah Hill thing would have been really, really cool. But I guess the rumor was he didn't want to be typecasted. So, I mean, like, good for you, but at the same time, like, dog, this could have been the role of a lifetime for you. It's like sometimes typecasting works out. Sometimes you got to take the money and run. And I don't know if there's much that he can do to get outside of how much he's already been typecasted. You kind of are what you are after a certain point. Good luck with trying reinventing yourself. But if we're bringing it back to this movie, it just seems like a bunch of pretty faces all going to the prom, and some of them are beautiful teachers that just got out of college and they're there. And, we got one person who might be principal's age in Andy Serkis, and he's definitely the chief and the best actor I feel like that they've casted so far. But this whole movie, like, it's so crazy. I wasn't interested in Matt Reeves, the Batman. Like when I first heard about it, some of the stuff that I heard about it, I was like, okay, that does sound interesting. But I was like, it was already confusing because I'm like, well, what are you doing with Ben Affleck? Because it had already come out at the time that he was supposed to be part of it, and then he wasn't. And then now you got what's his name, Twilight dude. This just sounds like a mess. I literally have no interest in seeing this movie. So mark this as 2 DC movies I won't be watching. I'm not going to be watching Joker. I already have, and I won't be. And I'm not going to be watching this Matt Reeves Batman.
All right, Skip. We've got Heresy in the chats. Please respond to this. I hope Farrell brings legitimacy to the Penguin finally.
That's my response.
I played this sound like a fiddle.
I played this stinking city like a harp from hell. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't see Colin Farrell outdoing Danny DeVito even. And shout out to Danny DeVito for the OG Penguin love. But yeah, yo, I just I like no, like because here's the thing, I don't even see how they are going to make him truly embody even the physicality and the physique of Penguin. Like to me, it feels like they're going to try to go for the Penguin off of the Gotham show, which that actor did a fantastic job. Really, really did. But throughout the whole thing, like, I'm sorry, I never really, truly felt like that was Penguin, you know, even in that show. I'm just glad that Ben McKenzie as Jim Gordon and Donald Logue were in there because and what's her name? The lady who played Dr. Leslie Tompkins, because they brought legitimacy to that show. But I don't see Colin Farrell doing it. Whenever I think of Colin Farrell in a superhero movie, I think of him as Bullseye from Daredevil.
All right.
Next.
Comic Whiz.
October brought an early end to DC Comics' iconic Vertigo imprint. The aforementioned legendary imprint of DC Comics will be coming to its end in January 2020 of next year.
It already ended. It ended in October. Just do the question.
All right. Skip. What legacy do Vertigo and its originator Karen Berger leave behind?
My favorite imprint is Image Comics, and the facts are that there would be no Image Comics if it wasn't for Karen and what she did at Vertigo. Straight up, I mean, everything that they did with the British invasion, bringing in Alan Moore, bringing in oh gosh, how am I forgetting? Grant Morrison as well. Didn't Brian Bolin come through there as well, the artist?
Probably. I know Garcinis did.
Yeah, exactly. All of that. And then I think it was ingenious to have Lin Wein, you know, kind of overlook it, someone who had, a good tenure inside of comics, you know, to be one of the main editors. So dude, it's just sad. One of my favorite videos and kind of what attracted me to Thinking Critical first as a viewer was the signature series that Wes had done. One of them, I forget which one particular it was. Was it Comics Alliance, Wes, when you had talked about how they had tanked Vertigo?
Well, there's a Comics Alliance where I sort of talk about it. Then there's the death of Vertigo, where I go into the details.
There we go. So there goes death again. Death really had relevancy this time because Vertigo died and then came back and then immediately died again just because there wasn't proper care taken with it. Like DC didn't respect its own history in Vertigo that it had acquired. So for me, it's just really, really sad, man. And especially like, it's so funny, you know, I'm trying not to get too political with it, but for all that, you know, a certain group of people, want to empower women and all that stuff and say that they support, like this woman built that imprint and you totally tanked her work and made it damn near all for naught. Like, thank goodness we have the lasting effects and those books will still be in print, but like you didn't respect it enough to put the proper talent there to revitalize it and keep it going. And I know part of it was DC wanted to have an imprint where their big name people didn't leave them, you know, to do their own creator-owned books at Image, so they could just do it right there at Vertigo, and they didn't even care for it, and it got tanked. So now they were like, oh, well, maybe you can do your stuff over here at Black Label, and now they're switching up what Black Label's doing. So, I mean, Dan Didio and all the rest of them, everybody that's in charge, even up to Jim Lee, and I forget the dude who's at the top, but they I'm gonna kind of be a little vulgar here. They suck for letting this happen to such an incredible imprint. Saga of the Swamp, the Planarian Worms. Saga of the Swamp Thing alone, and like what the mastery that's in that book. And I'm not even an Alan Moore fan, but like talent and craft is talent and craft, and what he did in that book was incredible. I can't believe that you would let that and all the work that Neil Gaiman did and all that other stuff just kind of fall apart like this. Wes, you've done a whole video on it, but in a kind of bite-sized form. Can you kind of inform the people and tell them how you feel about it?
Well, I do want to say that Saga of the Swamp Thing is absolutely my favorite Vertigo book, and it's probably my third favorite comic book of all time from Alan Moore. So it's an interesting story. If you go back to the history of Vertigo, if people are like, well, Andy Corey, you know, killed it, you know, with infusing it with like identity politics and stuff, and that absolutely was the finishing blow. But DC killed the imprint a long time ago when they realized the value that the TV and movie rights had with these. So, with Sandman Universe and on and well, they own Swamp Thing because that actually was a DC property before it went on Vertigo, but they got greedy and they said, if you want to write these new characters, your own creator-owned characters on Vertigo, we get your TV rights. We own all the rights to movies and stuff like that. And all the best writers and best talents went up, took their best products, and took them over to Image Comics because they said, I want to bet on myself. And you got a very few good writers who wanted to create for Vertigo after that, Scott Snyder being one of them. With DC Black Label, we recently had The Last God, which seems like it's going to be great. And I think it's sad that we don't get more stuff like that at DC. And DC's like, well, we can't create new properties. We can't create new characters. It's because you're not giving the creators rights to profit off them in the future. And they're greedy. And basically that was what killed Vertigo to begin with. Andy Corey and the way he managed it at the end on the 20th anniversary relaunch was the finishing blow. But DC's own greed killed the iconic imprint Vertigo. And it's a sad story, and I hate to see it. But at least the writers and artists have a place to go in Image Comics and other indie publishers where they can maintain their rights to their own creator-owned properties and profit off them in other ventures. All right, Comic Wiz, what's the next question?
Tom King recently posted photos of Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' sentimental achievement, Watchmen, with the caption, "Research for a Thing." Wes, what do you think DC Comics and Tom King are teasing with this image?
Well, I think this is supposed to give me some heartburn. I think Tom King is trolling me here because he knows that after what we've gotten with Doomsday Clock and the perfection of what Jeff Johns did, and then the way that Dan Didio has gone out of his way to ruin what he's done with that Watchmen DC crossover sequel comic that we've gotten, to throw them out there like he's writing the next Watchmen sequel, something like that. I don't think they're doing that. Of course, he did some work with the Watchmen characters, with the button, which is kind of a crossover thing that he did, and it was actually pretty good. I'm thinking that he is going to be a consultant or he is writing some TV scripts for the TV show on HBO. At least that's my hope. That's got to be what it is. There's no way that DC Comics is letting him fiddle with those characters. He's already destroyed enough. What do you think, Skip?
My bad. I was totally in the chat and sending a message. Well, what was the question about Alan Moore and Tom King?
No, the Watchmen. What do you think Tom King's tweet about the Watchmen is all about?
Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about. What I think, I think kind of like what you said and what you talked about earlier. He was writing some scripts, or he's going to be advising on the TV show. Likely writing scripts though, because I'm sure his agent knows exactly what he wants to do. Him and Bendis, I swear they're like what do you call those types of twins? Like paternal twins or fraternal twins? I forgot, but they're like twins that came out the womb at different times. Not that like totally different times, like years apart. But
are they two peas in a pod?
They are two peas in a pod, two balls in a sack. These dudes, like they get on my nerves. I'm sure that they just like love each other because talking to each other is probably like talking to themselves. And if you've watched any interviews with Brian Michael Bendis, you can totally tell he cans his farts, and every morning he kind of unflaps the lid and
Baseball
smells
style.
a little. Oh, absolutely, yeah. Homeboy gets high off his own supply. I'm sure he Dutch ovens himself in the bed and then just like pulls the covers over his head and probably just basks in it. That's what he calls a shower. He's like, "Ooh, it's time for a shower." I'm clean. Time to write some comics. I can't stand Brian Michael Bendis and I can't stand Tom King. And what makes it worse is like he very obviously has his head up Alan Moore's sphincter. So don't post a picture like you've never read The Watchmen before, and don't even act like you need to reference the books. You probably have the whole script tattooed on your in the tramp stamp area of your body. Like, come on, dog. So yeah, he's such a lame and I'm trying not to attack the person so much because I believe there is a good man inside of Tom King ultimately, but everything he exudes and does outside of the goodness that is within him just is like nails on a chalkboard to me. It just annoys me to no end. That is one of the lamest ways that you can announce that you're going to be working on anything Watchmen related. And then not only that, Like I'm not, like I said before, I'm not a big Alan Moore fan, but I respect his talent so much. I just don't like what most of his stories end up like result in or end up being. And I can't stand the fact, which is so interesting, Wes, that you told me about this. I can't stand the fact that for the Watchmen book, he wrote that ending that ended up staying, and Lin Wein challenged him and said, I think you can write a better ending. And I think Lin Wein was right. That book could have ended better, but Alan Moore didn't like it. And Lin Wein ended up walking away from his job as an editor. He said, well, if it doesn't get changed, I don't stand by it. So I'll walk away. Just like Steve Ditko, A is A. If I don't like this, I will walk away from you, Marvel. So like, it annoys me that Tom King follows suit in the same way. He didn't like what the editor was telling him about this Batman run. And then, like you said, Wes, he got his editor outed. And then look at the rest of the run. It's crap. Like, it's been abysmal. So this dude, anything that he does with the Watchmen, it's hard for me to say that I don't care, because even though I don't like the Watchmen story overall, the writing of it is so incredible. It's such a work of art. And to think that Tom King would have anything to do with it after what he's done to Batman and even Vision, and even how he ended Mr. Miracle, King Kirby's Mr. Miracle, get him out of here. Why is he still around? What does he do? Who does he have naked pictures of? Who does he have compromised photos of? Who, Wes? Who? Tell me. We need to think critical. We need intel. We need answers. Tom King has worn out his welcome, and for some reason, people leave him around. But here's what I will tell you, the good side. I hope he does get scripts. I hope he does start making money off of Hollywood. Get him away from comic books. I don't want him to come back. Go away, Tom King. Go be happy. Go to your happy place and go away. But yeah, dude, like whatever he does with the Watchmen, if it's anything, he's gonna tarnish it. He's gonna taint it. And the funniest thing of all, Alan Moore doesn't like derivatives of his work. Alan Moore doesn't like people, let alone people that do derivatives of his work. So it's so funny that I know Tom King is so happy to be doing this, while Alan Moore is like, if he even knows who Tom King is and has read any of his stuff, he's like, oh God, this hack, now you're gonna tank Vertigo, and then you're gonna let this hack touch my work. I hate all of you. I'm going to cast a spell on you now in the spirit of Aleister Crowley. I'm done.
All right. Well, nice to see you get worked up there. You're usually not that animated. But,
I did my push-ups today. I had my creativity.
I don't blame you. Tom King gets my blood boiling too. And speaking of Brian Michael Bendis, if you've been waiting for my take on Legion of Superheroes, that review will be out in a few hours. I got it all done. You're gonna love it. I got plenty of salt on top of that review, and it's gonna be great. Skip, got anything else to say before you sign off?
I thought there was a bonus question.
There is a bonus question, but we ran out of time.
We ran out of time for the bonus question. Other than that, Tabu Ohana is the gaming chair sponsor. You guys see the logo. Oh, I messed up. It's on this side over here. If you guys are looking for a gaming chair or even a desk chair, please consider it. I have a link that Wes will put in the description. My commission, you get that as a discount because I've just forfeited all for the money that goes, to the orphans that this company supports. So check that out. I like tea, but a lot of people like coffee. So we made a coffee account if you want to help us with all the big ideas that we're starting to want to roll out around the beginning of the year. Everything takes money. Editing software and licensing takes money. So $1 goes a long way. It all adds up. Super chats help out big time as well. So just all of those things. If you want to support us in any way, mainly keep coming back, keep being in the chat, but consider a donation, and we would appreciate it immensely. And we have different tiers and different special things that we would like to do for people that do contribute. And Wes probably wants to tell you about how you can talk to us when we're offline. Well,
absolutely. You can join our Discord server. We've got the entire we got most of the comics aficionados in there. We got all the members of geek-span in there. If you want to talk stuff, we can talk about comics, movies, whatever. So you can go in there and you can talk about bicycles. Somebody will talk to you about it. So we got a lot of people in there. It's a growing community. It's a lot of fun. Comic Wiz, you're new to the Discord server. Were we clean today?
Yes, you were. And before we sign off, we have a bonus question.
No.
Skip.
We ran out of time for bonus questions, buddy.
Oh, dang.
We'll get it in there next time.
Yep.
That's a long
It'll
story.
Be relevant.
All right. There's always next time.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone for joining us. Hope you come back next week for another round of geek-span. Tomorrow will be comics aficionados, and then next Thursday will be another OTB with. Are we talking Fallen Angels? Or are we talking X-Men 2?
We will definitely be talking Fallen Angels. Definitely.
All right, we're doing Fallen Angels next week on Outside the Bleed. Thank you so much for joining us. Salamat po, and I'm out.
Have a shrimp in a box.